customers are coming in with AI-generated images. These are photos created by a computer, meaning these are people who do not actually exist. And usually, the face and hair appear to be exceptionally flawless. This doesn't imply that we, as hairstylists, cannot replicate this image. Well, if you look on Pinterest, for example, and search for short asymmetrical curls, you'll see this style appearing quite frequently. In this video, I will demonstrate step by step how to cut this style properly. Enjoy watching. When I look closely at the photo, I see one short side. On the other side, the asymmetry continues longer. I don't see any hair at the nape, so that side is also short. And I see a volume point on top. Everything is connected well together. Here you see the final result, the copy of the AI photo. I just explained the photo very well, detailing what you saw. Well, I translated that to the doll head. Let's take a look together. Then you will see the end result we are working towards. I didn't make the contour line on the doll head too short, otherwise we would be cutting straight across. Generally, with your client, you can trim the contour edge a bit, or they can style it behind their ear. Here you can see that the shorter side gently slopes off at an angle. You still possess a lovely rounded shape on the top of your head. This particular piece extends diagonally longer towards the front side, and it allows you to elegantly form the volume point at the top. So follow the video step by step, and then you can cut it exactly like this for your client. I begin by dividing the hair into sections. First, I make the parting at the curvature of the head and then allow it to flow diagonally back. Be sure to stay under the crown. Then, at the highest point of the head, I section off the front area and leave a crown section that runs diagonally back. When I cut the hair, it is important that the hair beneath your parting retains some length. You can see me measuring this here. I retain roughly 4 or 5 centimeters at the top. Using a slight diagonal angle, I snip off the lengths. I work with a traveling guideline, so I take my previous section with me and I can connect it beautifully. It is therefore important that you work with fine passes, as it is essential that the hair under your parting is all the same length. So make sure to check if your parting is a bit too wide here. Then take a bit narrower section and connect beautifully in that manner. In this manner, I follow the curvature of the head entirely. Where I am cutting, I also stand. I can follow my guideline easily now. For verification, you can examine yourself horizontally, and if you notice it's a single line, then you're on the right track. As you get to the broader point of the head, you'll realize that your section is longer. You'll notice this soon when I begin to rotate the razor. I make a single downward cut. So I take a fine section, I work with a traveling guideline, and I carry my previous section along. I check and take it all the way down to the neck area, allowing me to cut everything in one go without needing to revisit it later. I often find myself battling with the camera, and I notice my arm is in the frame, but you get how I take my section. It shows up well on camera, and I continue to work methodically, step by step. Since I created my diagonal section, I can see my final result. I can easily continue to follow that diagonal line, and I trim everything underneath it shorter. The section at the back for your diagonal line is very important. It must not be too low or you'll have a baggy appearance. And in the photo, we saw that both sides of the neck area were completely free of hair. If you sit too high, the volume point at your crown won't work properly. Therefore, it is important to take genuine time to section the hair properly, as this will allow you to cut the style in quite swiftly. I continue to rotate my doll head, ensuring that each time I am positioned in front of the pass, I am trimming. I am engaged with the traveling guideline, and each pass emerges perpendicularly from the head, while I maintain a light diagonal angle to keep cutting the line. So when I work towards the short corner of the haircut, meaning the short side of my parting, the hair just below the parting will also become slightly shorter. As you can see, I actually have some longer lengths remaining on the side, and I finish with approximately 2 centimeters of hair length beneath my parting. Otherwise, I would have the opportunity to create a bag again. Later, when I start cutting the top, you'll see exactly what I mean. Also, work with the palm-to-palm technique. Then you have the most control over the position of your fingers, which is crucial for the hair, but also for your posture, so that your back remains straight. Working this way is always easier than working overhand, particularly with this model. I am now checking again myself if the line is correct or if I have any wave motion in it, because this will be my guideline shortly for the rest of my haircut. From here, I switch to my knife. Look, if your client really has curls, you can just use your scissors and cutting technique. I take a section of about 1 centimeter and look for the guideline underneath. Look, you can see it there. That's where I connect it. I project it upright towards me, and then I connect it with my knife, using a cutting motion to attach it to that section. If I project my section much lower, I will actually get longer lengths on top because the distance is greater. Because I use that fixed guideline. And if it's too heavy, you won't get nice volume on top because it will be too long. So project this hair upright towards you. Each time I take a new section, I also stay on one side of the model and connect everything nicely to what I've already cut. You will also notice that the hair is getting longer and longer on the long side. Your lengths will also be too long for the final result of the photo, but later I will apply the length that I want. But for now, I will continue to work consistently with my fixed guideline, so I know that every section I am cutting is getting longer and longer. When you have a client with genuine curls, they are always searching for a new model. I genuinely believe that this is an exceptionally enjoyable hairstyle that you can use for your client because it offers a refreshing variation on the curls that you typically cut. So when I'm combing everything back on the other side, you can clearly see that I have maintained a good length. Now we will go to the crown section. I make everything nice and wet because I am cutting the hair, and it is important that the hair is really moist. I take a new section of 1 centimeter each time, just like at the top, and I look for my guideline underneath to connect it nicely. Once you arrive at the crown section, instead of projecting the top section directly towards me, I will allow it to lower slightly. Why is that? In order to keep that length at the crown section. If I were to project the hair upright towards me at the crown, it will be evident in the next top section. If that happens, the crossing section will end up being too short again, which is undesirable, as maintaining that curvature is important. See here, you can see it. I combed it from below to above, but then I let my corner light fall, or I let it fall on her hair, so that the hair is cut off downwards to keep just a bit of extra length. Look, at the crown section, I let my top section drop slightly to generate extra length. But when I reach the short angle, I project the hair upright again at the nape to come out a bit shorter. Well, each time I take a centimeter, a new section, and I keep working until I've covered the entire crown area. I already mentioned at the beginning of my film that we are seeing more and more AI images coming through. I'm not sure if you can tell the difference yourself if the person in the photo is a real lady or not, but often the women, the models, they are too perfect and too beautiful, and even the hair is actually just too perfect. However, that does not indicate that we cannot reproduce her hair. Certainly, we should always evaluate the quality of the client's hair and its structure. But you can always identify the line, which is exactly what I'm doing now. You see, I have taken a good look at the picture in question. I make my sections, I see a front section, a crown section, a nape section, and a side section, and I section those off, and then step by step, I will cut it that way. Thus, there is no problem whatsoever with the emergence of those AI images. I will also be sharing more videos of them on my YouTube channel, just an AI picture, examining what you see, slicing and trimming. So, as you can see now, I am projecting the hair downwards instead of straight towards myself. Then I adjust my fixed guideline. It gets lower and I take a longer distance from the hair, which also creates longer lengths, because otherwise you would really be too short on the crown. The entire train car is connected to each other. So what I'm doing now is getting the hair into the right shape, and then I'll take off the last long lengths. Look here, you can still see longer lengths hanging at the back, and I will nicely connect them to that guideline, but the length on the side is really too long. I'll keep that diagonal line going. But ultimately, I will take off the bottom length now and cut it nicely into shape and to the right length that matches the photo. I don't need to add any more layering to the front, as I have already created that. Well, here you see the final result on wet hair. The side. I have cut the side nicely short, everything connects well, I have volume on the crown, it flows forward nicely, so this is the dome you see in the photo from the AI image. Here you can see how I cut it. It transitions beautifully from short to long, everything flows well. I use Kis's Ocean Vibe Spray because I want to make the hair a bit stiffer, as I will also use the curling iron later. Well, I first dry everything nicely, and from there I will use the curling iron to create the waves. Look, maybe your client already has natural curls, so you can perfectly choose products from the Kis Curl line. But if your client doesn't have curls naturally, you can always opt to create curls with a curling iron. I use a thinner curling iron without a clip because I want the ends to stay a bit straighter for a more modern curl. When I create these curls with the curling iron, I will twist one section forward and the other backward to achieve the most natural result. I allow the curls to cool in their shape, but later I'll gently loosen them with my fingers to avoid stiffness. But all in all, we have simply recreated a beautiful AI image, and this is also a very nice cut to use. For your client in the salon, I'd say good luck, everyone.